All right. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Party Invite Show. I am your host, Tegan, joined by the one and only Vilos.
That's me.
You can find Vilos on Twitter, especially Vilos Plays Games. He says all sorts of fun stuff. And you can find both of us on our Discord. And you can find everything else on our website, partyinvite.games. It's got links to everything, including all of the places that you can find this show on the video and audio versions. So it's just the two of us this week. So it'll probably be a short one, but we've said that before, so we'll see. But we've got some interesting stuff here for you. So if this is your first time listening to the show, we have a show in two parts, especially if you're watching here on Twitch. We've got the podcast first, which is Blissen Up, what we've been playing, and a party topic. We've got a fun one tonight that hopefully you guys can brainstorm. We'd love to hear your feedback on that one when we get to it. Followed by a game stream. Tonight's game is Vilos.
Dordogne.
And it is a beautiful game. It's all hand colored, all hand painted. Is it watercolor?
It's very watercolored, yeah.
It's gorgeous. And the name of the game, which is
Dordogne,
is the name of the river in question.
That's right.
So it's
In
all
France.
about in France. It's all about how this river affects the life. Well, I'm oversimplifying it, but how the river and this community and family all play into each other and connections to the land and all of this stuff. So I'm really excited for it. But let's start off with Blissen Up. We like to start every show with something that made us smile this week, and we'd love to hear these anytime from you guys. This could be something that happened to you in a game, or it could just be something in your personal life. Maybe it's news you read. You know, we were just talking right before the show that I saw there is a Futurama Fortnite crossover. Futurama's reboot just came out last week. I still have to watch it, but
A couple days ago, yeah.
is that time's weird. I've heard that I should watch it. I love Futurama. It's one of my favorite shows of all time, maybe my favorite show of all time. And the fact that the remake's not horrible is good enough for me. Just not being terrible means that I can enjoy watching it, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, I thought it was funny getting notifications for a Futurama Fortnite crossover that I haven't watched the trailer for, but that just cracks me up. Otherwise, my Blissen Up is, guys, new do, new me. Got a wild hair this weekend and bleached my hair for the first time ever, and got a buzz cut. Let me turn my my light up. I got a buzz cut for the first time since 7th grade. I used to have buzz cuts a bunch.
Grade, geez.
I know, it's so different. But our stylist is our friend, and I think she did a great job. So yeah, pretty happy about it. But a big change. So yeah.
Yeah.
Rumilde,
It doesn't look like just a bleach job, you know, like just like kill your hair situation. It's way different than that.
and
So.
I'm not gonna lie, I was not optimistic when we went into this. I mean, I told her to do basically whatever she wanted. You know, and we've known her since we moved up here. She was actually one of our very first friends that we made up here in Seattle. And introduced us to some wonderful people. But yeah, when she said this is what she wanted to do, I just said, take the wheel. And she did it, and even before it dried, it looked like more yellow and stuff, and I was just like, man, I don't know about this one. But by the time she was done and my hair was dry, I was pretty impressed. So yeah, so I'm really happy about that. I'm not getting any younger, you know, so now seemed like the time to do that. So really excited about it. Like I said, new me. So any grudges or any negative feelings you may have had towards me, they don't matter anymore. That was the old me. So just clarifying that. Yeah, you can't be mad about anything I've done in the past anymore. Not until my
it's official.
Yeah, not until my brunette hair is back in. But yeah, excited about that, and looking forward to. I went to a fun concert this last weekend. I will say there are a lot of things I like about Seattle. My least favorite thing about Seattle are the crowds at concerts. They're horrible. They are unhypeable. Not kidding. The worst concert crowds I've ever seen. And except for the very small shows, which are great.
Clearly, you're just too hyped.
Dude.
It's just how it is.
Everybody's asleep, man. Like, you can... The band I went and saw when they got to their, like, this area where they can riff in one of their really long songs. They played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star because that's how asleep the crowd was. Like it was rough, man. But the performance was great. Just the crowd was horrible. But we're going to see another show this weekend. That's yeah, I'll report back. We're going to a new cool venue up here that I've never been to that uh, is going to be gorgeous. So I'll be excited to report back with that. So yeah, a lot for me to smile about right now. It's also not like 110 degrees like it is for you guys. So I'm just gonna count myself hashtag blessed for that one.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, please.
yeah. Um, well, how about you? I see something on this list that made you smile.
Yeah, mine is that I finally got to grab the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. It has been in the world of scalping for the last like a full 3 months since release.
Mhm.
The Switch version, at least the PlayStation version, I think was somewhat available, but you could not find the Switch version for anything close to MSRP for the last few months, and stock has just become available in the past week or so, past couple weeks maybe, and I actually got it for $60 right on the dot, and it's in the mail like right now. I should have it tomorrow officially, but it's a game that I've been waiting for forever, and like the situation with scalpers is just so constantly irritating right now,
Yeah.
that it's like any respite from that is so nice. Like for example, the Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade 2 amiibos released last week,
Hmm.
and they're $30, and they're the only way that you can buy them right now is on Amazon for $80 plus,
Dude.
or eBay, of course, for even more than that.
Well, you,
And yeah, it's
I'm
not gonna happen.
surprised this is an issue. Nintendo, especially, is known for over producing their stuff, and you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
um, there's never been a shortage, especially on like a pre-order or a release
Never,
day. So this is the
never,
first time
ever.
hearing of it, but yeah, checks out that yeah, the scalpers suck. Um, that's just not a lot of fun. I mean, even when the PS5 came out, I mean, what you just got a PS5 recently,
Yeah.
which had to have been easier than the prior like year and a half or
Yeah.
whatever since release, because that was just a nightmare for so long. Like so many people were like, "Yeah, this thing seems cool," but like besides the additional scalper price tag, if you want to get MSRP value, to buy this thing, you're gonna have to work hard for it. Like you have to set up Twitter alerts for accounts that are like, "Hey, this website just got restocked and stuff." It's too
Yeah.
much, and all the GPU stuff. Yeah, whew. I'm I'm happy that like we're in a better spot now than we were 2-3 years ago, just across the board. Not even just in gaming. That for a lot of things it's easier to get stuff, but yeah, I mean we're never gonna be out of the woods because as long as as long as people have programs to buy concert tickets and GPUs and all these
Hmm.
things when they come out, this will always be an issue. But I'm excited for you. So this is the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. I'm glad I had that written, or you had that written
Yes.
here. So what is included in that collection?
Oh Jesus, I can't even remember if it's if it's
Stupid.
technically 9 or 10 games. But it's the entire legacy of Mega Man Battle Network, which was on the Game Boy Advance, and it was the basically Mega Man RPG that inspired so many games, like the I always forget the exact name of it. The something something of Eden, the
Oh,
battler, the RPG
uh,
that we played.
One Step from Eden.
One Step from Eden. There we go.
That was the
I
first time I
almost said
ever saw
Child
a
of
game
Eden.
like that.
Yeah, and so it was literally its own RPG system that nobody had copied for years and years until like 3 or 4 years ago, and it started being a trend. And then Capcom was finally like, "Oh shit, I guess we should capitalize on money because that's what we
Right.
like to do." And so yeah, they finally did it, and it's one of the many legacy collections that Capcom is bringing out for the whole Mega Man franchise. So the more we buy of this one, the more potential other ports we can get, like Mega Man Legends, which has like people freaking out over wanting a re-release of. So that's one of the remake slash port situations that I personally am really down for supporting. So we get the next great one,
Right, so we can get more.
because
Oh,
that's what it's gonna take, unfortunately.
you know what? This is a good time to mention this because this isn't a game that either of us is playing, but I do want to shout out that Remnant 2 just came out this week. The sequel to Remnant from the Ashes, and they've already hit, after one day they had more they had almost double the concurrent players on all their platforms, on Steam at least, than they had peak players in the first game. So they've doubled, their concurrent players immediately out of the gates, which is great because Remnant from the Ashes was a cool game that I played with Sav and Lord Chrome here in our community. And I'm glad to see, I hope that the game has learned some of the, sanded off some of the rough edges in the second game. Not sure that they have, based on some stuff I've heard. But there was still plenty of fun to have in that game, even with all those rough edges. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I really want to try that at some point. I don't know when. Geez, like I don't know when at all. But it looks so much like a Gears 2 game as far as like just perfect co-op, and that's what I want. That's one of the things that I'm missing in my personal backlog.
Well, I don't know if I'm trying to buy it at full price right now, but
Sure.
sometime down the road, I would play this with you because yeah, this is it scratches that third person itch. Is a
Hmm.
roguelike because every time you load into the world, it's new. And apparently there's a bunch of randomness to the biome that you'll even play in first.
Ooh,
I
I
think
didn't
in
know that.
Yeah, I think in the first game you mostly always started in the same biome, but where you went after that would be randomized. Like once you completed the first like good chunk of game, like after I don't know 2 or 3 hours maybe. But yeah, apparently one of our community members, Stacy Hilt in Facebook, he because he's an absolute madman, he played like a couple of hours of every character just to see how different they were. And in most games, I'm like, dude, you're crazy. Like you got it. How are you spending so much time just to tease out like all the little details and stuff? But he loves that stuff. But in this time, it paid off. From my perspective, he always thinks it pays off. Um, because yeah, he did discover all three of the classes had, at least in his playthroughs, totally different uh, biomes that they were in. One was the nasty, plaguey forest, I think, that was in the first game. Another one is like a gothic city, and I don't remember what the third one was, but they were all three very different from each other. So that's encouraging. And like I said, had a lot of fun with Sav and Lord Chrome doing that. It's a 3-player game, which I think is a good party size. I felt that way with Apex Legends, where 3 is easy to keep track of. Like a fourth player is one too many. It's easy to mix up, what's going on and stuff. But I think 3 is a really good sweet spot that a lot of games have started to capitalize on. Anyway, that's Remnant 2, which just came out this week. You can always look in our Discord if you're looking for people to play. But that's enough blissening up. Let's stop smiling now. Let's talk about the horrible things that we played this week. Um,
Yeah, because we're all about playing bad games. Yeah.
yeah, I only like bad games actually. Well, it is true. I would say out of everybody on the team, I definitely like bad games the most.
Probably
I
right. Yeah.
do kind of gravitate towards the weird stuff. Um, Speaking of the weird stuff, let's talk about the game that we played on last week's stream first. This is a game called Only Up. I'm gonna play some of the footage here. I didn't have a chance to get uh, some clean footage from it. Well, I mean, we got the footage, but I didn't have clips. So you guys will see plenty of those here in the future, though. Only Up is a game which makes no sense from a physics perspective. But you are only trying to climb up. You start on the ground and you climb over all these weird pathways. Watch me right here, about to jump on this floating bed to discover a shortcut and almost overshoot it.
And that was
Um,
honestly way more fun than I thought it would be.
same. Oh my gosh, look at that. Um, it was nuts, and my stream room gets pretty warm, but that was literally the sweatiest stream I've ever had. And I could count on one hand how many times my palms have sweated while I was playing a game. It just doesn't happen to me. I just don't sweat. I'm a skinny dude who does well in the heat, maybe I glisten a little bit, but I really don't like. I don't get sweaty palms. I just don't. And this game, dude, the whole time I had to wipe off my hands so many times because walking across these teeny tiny narrow things. Let's fast forward here.
It's just anxiety the
It's
whole game.
just anxiety. Um, Absolute madness. This game was made. Well, actually, I don't know how many people it was made by, but it's a Chinese developer. It's got, you know, the closest thing you could say it has to story is like some light dialogue, like monologuing, that is a metaphor for finding your way, or
Mhm.
overcoming adversity. You know how it is. You know, I've talked about Celeste before. It's all metaphors. Um, but yeah, you are just jumping, and in this case, right now, you're falling a little bit, um, from platform to platform. For the most part, you always know where you're going. It's pretty easy to tell like where where you should be aiming. But if you fall all the way down, or you at least fall very, very far. You lose all your progress. This game does not save in any way. No quick save, no anything. So when we eventually fell at the end of the stream, we did get really far. I was proud of how far we got. Um, we even got pretty far before we had our first fall. But of course, like knowing how high up you go, we really weren't very high at all. It felt like we were. Um,
I mean, I still feel like you were like 50 to maybe almost 60% of the way. I don't
oh
know.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I would say at least 60%. There was definitely more above us, and it's hard to tell scale in this game since the physics don't make sense. So it could just you don't really know what you're looking at. But this game was only up. I played it because it was recommended, or somebody in our community mentioned it when we put out the call to ask what people are playing. I'd never heard of this before. It was $7 on Steam. If you're a glutton for punishment like me, where you kind of like these really intense games that you know when you lose everything. Um, it's a fun one, especially if you're a streamer out there. This was really fun to stream. This would have been fine to play on my own, but the exhibitionist that I am, this was a real treat to play with everybody. Knees weak, arms sweaty. This is why I got this haircut, actually. Mom spaghetti.
Very on brand, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It was all part of the bit, and it's really paying off right now. The crowd's going wild. Anyway, so that was only up. That was a really good time, Vilos. I'm glad you joined me for that. Um, playing Discord sound alerts in the background too. That was a good time. Um, yeah. So only up was a lot of fun. I may, if I play this again, because like I said, there's no save, so I would start from scratch. If I played this again, it would probably be on a charity stream or something unusual like that. We streamed for about 2 hours, and yeah, maybe 2/3 of the way through it we got. Um, but yeah, $7 on Steam, only up. Go check it out if this is all interesting to you. There are like three buttons. There's different speeds you can go to jump, and you know I don't know. That's it. There were a few times where I should have sprinted and jumped between platforms, and I didn't, and I got punished for it. You can like sort of control yourself in the air, but there's only so much you can do. But I did play something else, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Violet, let's bounce over to you.
Yeah, I because I let my PlayStation Plus go for the month.
You really
Um,
let yourself go.
yeah, I decided to grab a couple of the free games that I enjoy already. Um, I got to like level 47 in Rocket League on Switch, and honestly, if I played the game more, I would be like top tier. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm tooting my own horn here, all
Yeah,
right.
you are. Honk
But
honk.
but I downloaded Rocket League on PS5 because I was like, number one, I was still curious if my Epic Games stuff would actually give me my correct level. It didn't. And Shani says, "Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to play with people if possible, but I'm like level 2 or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wait. How much time have you put in Rocket League, like ever?
on Switch, a lot. I think on Switch it was technically like 90-ish hours, maybe.
Shani's like,
I
wow, don't even talk to me until you break 3
yeah,
digits.
yeah. I played a little bit more casual on Switch. That's why I didn't get a higher overall level.
Hmm.
Um, but I am pretty goddamn good at it. And being level 1 on PS5 version just was so funny. And immediately I was just wrecking people, and it
No
was the
mercy.
best. Like, if you throw the first video up here, I just took a few of the little like 30-second clips or whatever on PS5 capture, and it was just so fun to be able to get at the entry point of a game and just do whatever the hell I felt like. Like, for somebody that is good at Rocket League, it is all muscle memory, and
Hmm.
when you have the, like, right here from the get go, nobody could defend that shot. Like, I that was one of the only times that I actually was able to like be set up for the shot.
Savage.
Almost every time I was sitting back at the right in front of the goal. Almost every game that I played this week.
Man,
Um,
you
yeah.
heckin' Smurf, man. You're rolling in absolutely no mercy. You're just, you're like somebody in the fighting game community. It says, welcome, welcome in. Murder.
Yeah. So let's pop on the second one here, and I don't remember which one it is, but like I just had so much fun. I probably played 10 or 12 games the other day, and I really didn't want to stop because it was just so perfect. And the DualSense actually felt very good with Rocket League. I was very surprised
That checks out.
with how satisfying it was, because the triggers just feel so much better than any other controller, and so the acceleration was just so much easier.
Oh my gosh, you're doing the
Oh, that
liftoff and everything.
yeah, that was the one, the winner by forfeit. That was the game that I scored like 4 consecutive goals. I think we had a minute plus left in the
Miles,
game.
you gotta
Uh
show some mercy here.
oh, and the actually it was the audio of the clip was actually the funnier part, because this was the game that I didn't realize that the DualSense mic was on the whole fucking time, and my dude, I had one dude that was like really into the game, and at the end in this clip, he's like, "GG's, man," like something like "thanks for coming through" or whatever. And before this clip, he's like, "God damn, dude, like you're like everywhere," because every time he had any time to hit the ball, like I would pass it and basically be setting myself up for the shot,
Hmm.
But he'd be like right there to like barely tap it a little bit, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's perfect." And I was just like shit talking my team a little bit because every time I had something completely set up all by myself, they would screw it up. And eventually, the guy was listening to me and started talking back and was like, "Oh, sorry, man, sorry, man." And it was just really
Like, well, I
funny.
can't mean my teammates over there. Yeah, sorry. It's like, oh, geez, this thing's on.
Yeah, it was just a really funny situation because I didn't have the time to. I mean, because I was scoring so much, I didn't have the time to turn off the mic during the game.
Right.
But it was really fun getting that absolute domination in. Um, and this one, let's see. This one was just a funny goal because I ended up
Oh, gee.
knocking it backwards, I think. So I'm off track a little bit here, but I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it was like the perfect situation for me the other day. I lost a couple games, but it was because of the same situation. Like I would literally be passing to myself to set up goals, and my teammates would literally just not be around. Because
Well,
when you're just playing with strangers and not
wow, you
communicating,
got
there's
bonked
not much
back
you
into
can
it. That's amazing.
do.
Oh my gosh, dude, I am not good at Rocket League. There was one time that we played Rocket League on the movie theater screen before one of our
Mhm.
fighting game events, and um, my friend and I we went the whole game and we neither of us scored a single time, and it went into overtime, and like we were playing overtime for like a while. I forget how it works, but I want to say that we were in overtime for like 3 minutes. And my friend came over and took the controller for me and instantly scored. And he was like, "We need to leave. Like we've been waiting on you guys, and you both are so bad that this game's never gonna end." Oh man.
Oh man, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I can't understate how satisfying Rocket League has always been for me, and I'm definitely going to talk about it in the actual party topic. But yeah, it was a really good time, even when my team ended up getting drubbed like 8-1 on another game
Wow, how
because the other
embarrassing.
team actually knew what they were doing.
Because they saw your score and the game was like, okay, whoa, 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 we gotta ratchet this up a little bit.
Yeah,
Man. Well, hell yeah. So, what were you playing that on? You're playing on PlayStation, you said,
it's
because yours is
five,
DualSense.
baby.
Hell yeah. Are the triggers like, are they adaptive at all?
They're not doing the adaptive thing, but they, as far as I could tell, they started at the slight tension stage. I don't know what they actually call that, but it's got a little bit of tension in there. So when you are pressing the triggers,
Feels
it's
good.
not like super snappy. It's just right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't play racers, but I'm feeling like I'm gonna have to get into Gran Turismo very soon with that DualSense.
Oh man. All right. Well, I'll be excited to see it. You'll be like the one racing guy I know. Doesn't Chrome play racing games? Maybe we can get him
Oh
on
yeah,
here
oh
sometime.
yeah.
Um, racing is like such. It's a whole different world to me. Where like, well, whatever. We've got a few people in our community who are pretty serious about it. Who play some like pretty, like on the sim side of racing. That I've tried to get into a little bit, but it's like, it reminds me of how people are really into building a PC, because I mean, it's like a car. You've got all this hardware that goes into it, and then just because the hardware's all right doesn't mean that that's all there is to do. In a PC, there's like cable management, and maybe on your, uh, maybe you're doing minor tweaks based on the map. In the what's the game that they're playing? I'd have to go look it up because I don't even remember. I don't even remember what the software is, but yeah, racing is like a whole nother world for me. I'll be happy to watch you and Shanny and Chrome kick butt because it ain't gonna be me. I like driving a Warthog in Halo. I like arcadey stuff. I'm just no good when skill is required. Okay, well, the other game that I've been playing, I streamed it twice this week, and I think I'm gonna stream the whole game. I don't think I'm gonna play any of it off stream. That game is Dave the Diver. It's a game that I hadn't heard of until it came out 2 or 3 weeks ago, something like that, sometime this month. Never heard of it. It got very good reviews across the board. Several people in our community have hyped it up, and for good reason. I'm gonna show the trailer here because even though I've played a whole bunch, I don't have a lot of footage to show you firsthand. But I'll take some clips from this because this is really what has inspired our party topic for later. That this game, to me, is an amalgamation of some of the best parts of some other games. As you can tell in this trailer, there is a lot of different gameplay going on that I haven't even seen yet. But just if you start from the beginning, this game combines elements from games like Moonlighter, where in Moonlighter you dungeon crawl by day and then you take your stuff home and sell it by night. In this game, you're not dungeon crawling, you are exploring the ocean. You're exploring this big hole that just, I don't know if it showed up or what, called the Great Blue Hole, I believe is what it's called. And oh my gosh, the pixel art in this is so fantastic. You go into this area and it's like a roguelike where the area of the sea that you're exploring looks different every time you go down, and you can find weapons and harpoons and underwater scooters that will, you know, move you around really quickly. You've got to manage your oxygen underwater. Your oxygen is both the timer until game over, but it's also your health bar. So when you take damage, it's your oxygen that takes damage. Um, Most of the fish I've seen are friendly, but some of them are aggressive, and some of them are big and crazy spooky and stuff. Um, but you do that, and the further you go, I've seen some of what Channy Pack has streamed in our Discord, and there's a lot left for me to discover. Um, but yeah, I'm just at the top of the ocean, and you upgrade your suit. You can choose what upgrades to make. So I first upgraded my carry capacity, and next I'll do my oxygen, I think. Oh, and I've upgraded. You get a free first upgrade to go deeper. So there are all sorts of ways that you can upgrade your, Dave, your suit. But by night you are running this sushi restaurant, and I'm not gonna try to say every single thing that's going on in here because I know that I'm gonna be talking about this on future podcasts. But you manage the restaurant by um, hiring staff, by spending money to make the interior of your restaurant look cool. Um, all sorts of just little nifty things. But the game is full of mini games, like tons and tons and tons of different mechanics of ways that you can level up. There are all these characters that have this wonderful dialogue that makes them pretty funny. Um, there's an Ash Ketchum type character that showed up yesterday. Uh, he looks just like him, and then he gives you an app on your phone where they even make the joke. He's like, yeah, and then you get this because any fish you catch transfer to real life trading cards. And so if you get a higher level fish, then you get a higher level card and blah, blah, blah. And it'll catalog all the ones you've caught. And Dave is like, oh, so you mean it's like and then the guy's like, nope, don't say it. Don't say it. You're not supposed to say the word. Clearly meaning Pokedex, you know. But the whole thing was just too funny. I'm going to be able to take pictures of the underwater wildlife. There are all sorts of mini games in this trailer that I haven't even seen. So, um, all of that is great. Something else that's wonderful are these cinematics that are like very anime in this great with this great pixel art. Um, when you like enhance your food, which is when you permanently upgrade it to sell for more and give better stats and stuff. Um, everything is so super over the top, and like almost every single cinematic I've seen so far has made me laugh out loud. So,
I mean, the incel otaku dude that makes your weapons is just like
bruh.
perfect.
Yeah, he when you like when I unlocked my first weapon that he can build, it went into this anime like he pushes up his glasses and then he's like hacker man, like he's got a power glove on and all this stuff. It's fantastic. So that's all I'm gonna say about it now because I am sure you're gonna hear me talk about it in the future. So I'll try to keep it short so I don't repeat myself too much. But really like this game. So it takes some of the best parts of Moonlighter. Um, it takes like some of the wonderful dialogue that you'll see in any decent visual novel. Um, and it has like the restaurant sim stuff that I like. Like I like simulation games. Sometimes when they go too deep, I get a little bit lost. Um, but generally speaking, it's a genre I do like a whole lot. So the fact that there's so many ways that you can approach it is very satisfying to me. There are lots of obvious examples I've seen so far of being able to play my way, where they just lay out a whole bunch of options for a path to achieve some goal. Maybe it's upgrading my restaurant, maybe it's upgrading my suit, maybe it's anything in between. It feels like I get to really play the way that I want, not the way that I have to play to unlock the fun stuff later. You know, because some games will put all the fun stuff midway or most of the way through a game. So anyway, Dave the Diver. It's $20 on Steam. It's only on PC. Um, maybe it's on the Epic Game Store. I can't remember, but it is only on PC for sure. This would be a great console game. I hope it hits consoles very soon. But it was a surprise release. Had never heard of it till our buddy Chris was playing it, and generally his very in-depth review was this game rules. So I knew that it was going to be good from then on. But yeah, catch me on our Twitch channel here at twitch.tv/partyinvite.show to see more of that. I might end up uploading the entire series because there's there's so much moment to moment good stuff that simply to like clip it wouldn't do justice. So
I mean,
keep
I haven't heard of anybody actually finishing the game. Like people are just playing dozens and dozens and dozens of hours of it.
that's good to know because I've been wondering like at what point am I gonna hit a wall where I'm like, okay, well you know you're done investing in this part of the game.
Yeah.
Time to move on. Hell yeah, Dave the Diver, go play it. I really recommend it. As far as new games, this is probably my favorite new like 2023 release that I've played this year. And I'm glad it's coming out now and not on the other side of like Starfield and Baldur's Gate and stuff because um, I think what I thought I wanted was a shorter, smaller game, but this doesn't seem to be that. But it does allow for smaller, shorter sessions of play because you can pretty much stop playing at any time. So big fan. All right, well, enough out of me. Vilas, let's bounce back to you to talk about the other stuff you've been playing.
Yeah, yeah. The other game, that other game that I might have talked about before,
Mm-hmm.
Exoprimal.
Hey,
Uh, Shani and Odysseus, or no, Odysseus and Jerp finished the game like last week, and then over the past few days, I hopped in and got to play the final mission with everybody. So because we finally got to a point where everybody had played enough games to get through to earn the final level,
right.
the final story mission, and we actually got to play it together, which was awesome because I played with two people that already knew what the hell was happening, like didn't have to worry about it because the final mission of the Exoprimal story is fucking wild. It's just so much. They throw a whole lot of shit at you, and they expect you to just go with it and survive. You have a limited number of respawns. There's just so many stages to this just massive boss fight that's going on. I think during that final mission, probably fought 6 to 8 Triceratops, at least 4 or 5 T Rexes, probably 10 Carnotauruses, like just a stupid amount of dinosaurs that you fight in the final mission of Exoprimal. So completed the story successfully, had a great time doing that. Um, and with that, the Capcom brought it together and was like, "Hey, we are updating this game. Just a reminder, it's been out a few weeks now, and so their first big update is the Savage Gauntlet, and that is the Savage Gauntlet Trial 1, which starts technically tonight at like 9 or 10 p.m. tonight, maybe a little bit later, because they post UTC times like all the time, and it's
Right.
technically
Is it
tonight.
today? Is it tomorrow? Who can know?
I think we're supposed to be 6 hours ahead of that UTC time, but yes,
Odysseus
10
says,
p.m. says it is.
yeah, 10
There we go.
p.m. Central.
So yeah, the gauntlet though it has some extra awards or rewards, awards, whatever that you can basically slap onto your profile for completing certain parts of the Savage Gauntlet. Um, and so far, we don't know exactly what awards actually do. Like they don't necessarily do things, but they're a thing that you can have on your profile, kind of like a prestige to show people uh, your achievements during your playtime.
Gotta flex on him, you
So
know.
it's yeah,
When you
and
when
so they
you
have awards.
when you've played the
Oh, go
beta
ahead.
this many times, you've got to let people know
Jesus, yeah.
that you're a
I
real
don't know
gamer.
why they didn't give us awards for that because, like, what they did give us,
Or did I say the beta? I meant the
I don't
tutorial.
have. Yeah,
I don't know what I
I
said.
mean, both. It was both. That it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are claiming that it's supposed to be harder than anything else that they've had in this game before. As I said, that final mission was pretty damn hard. So we're gonna be playing it pretty hard this weekend. I think it's gonna be Saturday that we're gonna jump in as a group. So just know if you are wanting to do the Savage Gauntlet trial, you do actually have to finish the story of Exoprimal. So
Absolutely
some of the
right.
people that might be lagging on that, don't know what to tell you besides getting a few games. It looked like the average to complete Exoprimal story is somewhere between completing 60 to 70 games. Uh, and I mean,
That's
we
not
played a lot of
insignificant.
games. Yeah, we played a lot of games, but we also won most of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't
Oh,
know
and is it based on
how much faster
yeah
it might be
experience? So like
because
winning gives you
it
more
wasn't
experience.
it wasn't entirely clear on that because
You know, there are a few things in
it
this
could be
game are a
your
little
player level.
unclear.
Yeah,
Uh,
it could be your player level, but it also, for me, it looked like it was just a hitting a number of games played. So take that as you will.
you know,
And as Odyssey said, you got two
you
days
got 2 days. It is
for the
strange
trial.
that, like people who are just picking up the game now, it's hard to group up with your friends because as we talked about, the matchmaking applies like whatever you get queued up for is going to be based on the minimum unlocks that you have in your group. So if you have a person who just made a new account, you are going to be playing the newest, you know, baby's first dino fight. So if you want to play with your friends, it's like, well, we kind of need you to play on your own for a while and unlock a bunch of stuff till it gets good, and then we can play, which is kind of I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing. Like I almost wish, not that I'm playing it myself, but if I was, I would want there to be some sort of switch where I could be like, hey, can you just boost me up a little bit? Like I don't want to have to play 30 games before I unlock the content that my friends are excited about, you know? Like the other game modes, like you have to personally unlock the mechs and stuff, but it's the fact that the game modes themselves are gated is a little weird to me. But I'm glad you guys are enjoying it because you guys played the crap out of that the past few weeks. So
Yeah, and it's still worth it, and I am gonna buy it on PlayStation 5 down the line, and like
wait,
I
what?
have no issue with that.
Wait, why are you gonna buy it
Uh,
again?
you know, I mean, because it's on Game Pass right now. I do want to physically own a copy of it. It is on physical, so I want a disc game, and it'll be nice
Man,
to
think
play
think
through
of
the
the
whole thing
value of that thing once it's it's still you're like, I bought this 65 million years ago.
again.
The collector's
Exactly.
value is so high.
Yes, worth it.
Glad I got to make that joke. Okay. Well, yeah, Exoprimal's cool. Since you mentioned playing Exoprimal on Saturday, I want to say that the reason you're playing on Saturday is because on Friday, we, the community, are playing for the first time Small Land. SMALLAND. It is a grounded type game, small person, big world, where you're trying to survive against all of these huge creatures, ants and spiders and stuff that are much bigger than you. I think your character is supposed to be the size of a small ant, I think. But a bunch of us picked that up on sale during the big Steam Summer Next Fest. That sounds right. And it went on sale last week, and it might still be on sale. But that is a 10-player game, which is huge. Grounded is only 4 players. But a benefit that Grounded has is you can have a persistent server. So if I'm the host of our Grounded server, you guys can still play when I'm offline, which is great. And I wish way more games had that as an option. This one doesn't seem like it'll have that. Maybe someday, but it does support up to 10 players, which means our whole squad can jump in there. So similar to Sons of the Forest when we had fun with that, we're all going to jump in all at the same time on a fresh save. An interesting thing about this game is that you do have base building. So it's a survival game. So you've got hunger, water, there's weather and seasonal change, which I'm really interested in. Um, and base building, and apparently you can somehow transfer your base from one server into another. I don't know how that works because that sounds wild to me. um but maybe we'll do that later. For now, everything's going to be brand spanking new. I've only looked up a couple beginners tips because a lot of these games, you'll read a guide and it's like, hey, the game doesn't tell you this, but you should really drink water or something that's like seems obvious, but the game just decides that they're just not going to teach you. But
And I'm gonna drop a link here for you. Just an FYI. Yeah, it's full price right now, $25. And I just watched a little bit of a video of the person getting wrecked by a bird. So
that checks out.
looks like a good time.
And there's a link in chat for the Discord event. That'll be tomorrow, which is Friday. In our Discord, no experience required. You obviously have to own the game. But other than that, nothing else is required of you, just to be in voice chat when we play. So yeah, really excited about that. We've been holding off. I've been pretty proud of everybody for having bought the game already, but not playing on their own. It's a tough thing to do. So really appreciate everybody for that. So yeah, we're gonna open that can of worms. We will not be streaming here, but you can catch Odysseus NSJ. You can see his name here in Twitch chat. You can also watch the stream on DAS Hot Rod, DAS Hot Rod, and DAS Deadpool, and Deadpool is spelled with 2 zeros. All the links are in that Discord event, which you can find on our Discord, which is discord.gg/partyinvite show. Yeah, any other details you want to find are going to be in there. So if you want to play or ask any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Okay. So yeah, Friday Small Land, Saturday Exo Primal. Man, got a lot of gaming going on this weekend. But today's topic, we want to do Frankenstein each of our own games. Take our favorite pieces from a bunch of other games to create something brand new. So the way we're going to do this is instead of going one by one and then arriving at our conclusion, we're actually going to bounce back and forth. So you guys can kind of take this and kind of maybe guess what it is that we think we're going to add next. But we would love to hear in chat and on Discord and on Twitter what you guys would build if you took different parts from your favorite game and put them all in the pot together. I really want to hear people's feedback on this because this is almost its own personality test. Okay, well, with enough monologuing here, let's get on with it. Vilos, do you want to kick this thing off?
Yes, I do, and you are absolutely right as far as the making it feel like it is definitely a personality test. Because you know, with these kind of ideas, you kind of just gotta feel it, you know, deep deep in your jellies, as they say, because everybody says that.
And everybody says that.
Um, for me, the very first thing that I would have to add to the pot is the character building of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. This is a game that, yeah, you have the potential to play anywhere between 60 to 200 hours in this game, and along the way, developing the characters can happen at literally any stage of it. But from the start, from the get go, it lays out its world perfectly, and you have six main characters. That's just your party, your main party members, alongside like a dozen other characters. But your six main party members are fully fleshed out in such an expedient way and in beautifully emotional ways. The stories that are told throughout the main plot as well as the subquests. Um, I don't think that even Xenoblade 2 being my technically favorite game, I don't think that anything has quite hit the overall character development of Xenoblade 3. It's just that special to me. It's actually that special to a lot of people. And in the vein of these JRPGs that have a whole lot of characters in a party, it stands out. I mean, not even every Final Fantasy are players being like, oh yeah, Tifa and Aerith and Cloud, blah blah blah. Like Final Fantasy VII is probably the closest of any other RPG where you can literally say all of the main characters are poignant and iconic in their own ways.
Well,
Uh,
similar to how
and
I'd said that,
yeah,
all of these things together are, each of them is an 8, but together they're a 10. I think you're like me where generally speaking, if you're able to nail the character building, that you would prefer an ensemble as opposed to one or two or three main characters. Because I feel like that applies to a lot of the games
yeah,
that you play.
for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely down for that. Um, and it makes the whole experience for me in Xenoblade just that much more special because you actually do get to play as each individual character. Uh, I just don't think anybody's ever done it at this high of a level before, and there's a lot of games out there that try.
I mean, Mass Effect, when I think of an ensemble, I mean, not every character is like, Morden Solus or Garrus, but
Yeah.
I do love me like I have not touched Xenoblade in my life, but I've heard you talk about it a lot, and I've watched a bunch of footage and stuff. But that
Hmm.
ensemble that comes to mind for me is Mass Effect, so I can completely relate to just wanting all of these characters. Where every time they walk on screen, you're like, "Oh yeah, we're about to get a moment with this person."
Yeah, and it's just really funny because it's not even just the heroes. Like you could literally find a Twitter page dedicated to all of the like top 20 characters in
Oh
Xenoblade
man.
Chronicles 3. Like literally top 20. Bad guys and good guys doesn't even matter. They're all that well developed and that well loved. It's wild.
Let's see. Shani's got some input in chat. For the sake of organizing our thoughts, I'll read off everybody's submissions when we get to the end. But Shani, I like what you've written here. Okay, then I'm gonna bounce over to me. When you're talking about this ensemble, I'm realizing that maybe I should have put that on my list too. But maybe that's all the more reason why I'm glad we didn't look at each other's lists before we did this. That way, we're not just the problem with doing something like that and then having like a show about it is that if you have too many discussions about it beforehand, then there's nothing left to discuss on the show. You already had, that shock and dialogue about it. So I don't have the ensembles, but one of the things I have on here is the style of visual novel that you have in Hades, where it's very similar, where each character really by the end of it gets their own time to shine. I mean, there's not one character in there by like as far as I am in the game, which is I don't know about 100 hours, and I've rolled credits on it, which you beat the game and then you keep playing and realize that there's more and there's more and there's more and there's more. And there are all of these moments where something you did in the game or some conversation you had somewhere else ends up unlocking something over here. And this character that you thought was really simple, um, this isn't like a serious spoiler at all, but there's a character in the game that cannot make real words. Like when she speaks, like well, whatever. I'm just going to spoil it a tiny bit. The only word she can say is murder. And you fight her. She's one of the Furies that you fight. And she can only say the words murder with like a little bit of inflection and stuff. But that's really it. But your character, Zagreus, still keeps trying to have conversations with her, even though she like can't or chooses not to respond. You can't tell. But eventually I fought her enough where even she, like, finally she is starting to pronounce my name. Like she's saying a word that's not murder and she's about to sound out my name. And I remember seeing that.
Oh, she likes you.
I was like, holy cow, I never thought that this character would actually have any development. Or the fact that the boss, the Hydra, the boss of the second area, just by fighting him enough and Zagreus making enough like quips about the situation, he ends up naming the Hydra Lerny. Like he just gives the Hydra a name just because, you know. And it's lots of tiny little moments like that that add up across the whole entire game where there's this constant feed of like, oh wow, I didn't think I'd learn anything else about this person or whatever. But I would take that visual novel element of Hades because that's one of the first games that I've beaten that has that visual novel style to it, where you've got one character on the left, one character on the right, and then dialogue at the bottom that you're reading. A wonderful thing about it in Hades is that it's all fully voiced. It's voiced very well, even. But I just love that. So similar to your ensemble, that's to me, I want the character building where these people that you meet, or even like Dave the Diver, they're gonna really make you feel a certain way, and they're gonna do it very well. So like when you meet some skeevy character, you're immediately gonna see and hear that they're skeevy, and maybe they have some character arc, maybe they don't. Um, but that's what I would add as my character building, because in this game that I'm building, you got to develop them somewhere. I would say maybe the biggest difference between what you and I suggested is that the visual novel style of Hades, there's only one main character, playable character. So in that case, it's always you meeting everyone else. None of the people that you meet would become playable characters later. Maybe you'd see them, maybe you'd interact with them in other situations, but only one main character. So.
And that makes sense. Like it does make sense to meld them, and I think it's still doable in this world of the Frankenstein game that we're creating. Because, for example, in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, you have the characterization in a lot of different ways. You've got voice lines that happen as just in-game actions, like you found this item while you're exploring, or maybe even you're literally just jumping around the land and your character just says something. When you're switching from character to character, they say things, and it's all a buildup of characterization You've got moments where you take a rest and you both see the characters interacting in fucking adorable ways. Um,
well, hold on.
and
Let me jump in real quick. You know how I have a tendency to misunderstand what the party topic is?
yes.
Well, here we are. And so what I did, I mean, I basically came up with, so I have my 5 here, and I've essentially put them together to, I mean, if you read this last part on our doc here,
Mhm.
like that's the kind of the game that I'm trying to build. So, I'm afraid that if we add 5 each of us, if we have 10 of these things, some of them are going to be like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? But I can roll with it. I can yes and. I just want to put out there that my approach to this was that we each walk in with 5 and we each have our own game. But I can roll
Okay.
with this to be like, okay, well, what's the meld of this game? When these two things come together, what are they? Well, then bouncing back to you then. So what do you got next?
Yeah. Mine is this one's a little bit vague, but I do have a point to it. The uniqueness of Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator. And I say that because I feel like no other game for me in a long time, like very few other games, have the hook that a Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator has in its complete, utter uniqueness. It's weird.
Unique
Everything
warlord.
about it.
Unique warlord.
Unique warlord.
Unique warlord.
um, like I would say, like thinking back on the potential of other games, uh, maybe a Wilmot's Warehouse or even like a Loco Roco on PSP. There are sometimes just unique games that never happen again,
Yeah.
and SWATs is kind of one of those. Um, and with that, I mean it's literally from top to bottom. It's visually unique, compelling. It's one of the most eye-searingly painful games to look at,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's incredibly entertaining in that fact. It goes out of its way to set up weird scenarios. It does something that the vast majority of games don't do, and that is have a stock market, an actual working stock market. Um,
You're right. Most
as
games do
the
not have a
main
stock
point.
market. I wouldn't bet against that statement.
um, its narrative is there. It's not cohesive necessarily because you have the roguelike kind of sensibility to it because every time you play it, it doesn't have to be the same, and the engine behind the stock market part of it can just be completely different. Like you can fail in the first couple days of the market,
Yeah, but good news,
even if you
it's
played like 30 hours of
it's
it.
got its own ending for that,
It does have its own ending every time. There's the last time I played it, there were 12 endings, but I think there have been 2 or 3 updates now. The latest update just released, I believe, that added more characters from Inscription. So it's got Inscription, Among Us, and something
What is
else
Leshy in there?
that I can't think. Kind of. They did add both body parts. Bug Snacks was the other one. They added body
Bug
parts.
Snacks and Inscription? This is already a
Yeah,
Frankenstein game.
yeah, exactly. Like they added literal body parts and characters and scenarios to SWATs in order to just liven it up even more somehow. Literally, no other game for me has been this weird, and it's so enjoyable. If we made a Frankenstein game and it could be even 10% as unique as SWATs, that's
We
all I
would have
need.
done all right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's a great argument for that, and I think you're absolutely right. I've never seen a game that quite does what Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator does. I would compare the closest thing I've got that I've now finally played is Papers, Please, because you've got the multiple endings, uh, a pretty unique thing. You're a border crossing guard, and you've got to approve people or not. But yeah, as many things as they have in common, I mean, just look at the name, man. You're in space trading organs. Like there, yeah, I've never seen a
Yeah,
game
yeah.
like that. So I think that's a great contribution. Um, let's see, which one would I pull out of here next? let's say okay, so I talked about characters before. I talked about meeting each of these characters, but you have one protagonist. I'm gonna say the next one, as far as uniqueness, would be the sort of sanity mechanics that you see, especially in Darkest Dungeon 1, where when people hit a certain threshold, where bad things have happened to them, they're now stressed out. Maybe you sunk a lot of points into a character. Maybe this character is really strong, but they got stressed out, and now they're turning on you or they're disobeying your commands. I was thinking somewhere between Darkest Dungeon or the Betrayal on the House on the Hill board game, where you have the haunt, and then maybe this person who's been your ally this whole time is actually the one villain now, and it's everyone against that villain. Um, I love that idea because when I played Darkest Dungeon 1, I had never encountered a game that did anything like that, where it says, hey, this person is your ally until, oops, they aren't anymore. They've got negative quirks about them. And based on the way that you know, their character was built through interactions with you, or maybe interactions out in the game world, they carry that trauma with them. And then when they finally break, there are unexpected results. And those unexpected results, I just thought are so novel. So yeah, in that game, it might be that someone in Darkest Dungeon 1, maybe someone is greedy, and when you roll up to a treasure chest, instead of giving you a chance to use a key to unlock it because maybe it's trapped, that person will immediately reach out and touch it, and the trap activates, and they suffer the consequences for it. Maybe there's a bleeding trap, and now they have got a really nasty bleed over time effect. Other ones are when you see certain items, someone's obsessed with the dark arts, and so they immediately touch some occult symbol and take stress damage, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. I gave basically a little TED talk. There's a thing in Kansas City called Nerd Night, and I gave a PowerPoint presentation on why I think video games are the best medium for horror. And part of that is that in other mediums you can watch. Let's say horror specifically. You watch what's happening. If you're watching a movie and you cover your eyes, the movie keeps playing. It doesn't matter if you're watching, the movie keeps playing. With a book, yeah, you have to keep reading the book to see what happens next. But if you decide to close the book, it stops, and it's out of your control. Like, you either go forward or you don't, but you're not making decisions. But in a video game, you are the one who has to walk through that spooky door, knowing that there's something dangerous and terrifying on the other side. So the fear is that you are in control and you have to make those decisions, and giving yourself that agency is what's so terrifying. But then for a game like Darkest Dungeon to turn that on its head and say that now we're actually taking control away from you, and these characters are now going to act outside of your control, that just blew me away. So like, oh, 3 people in your party are doing great, but this one person, wow, they have been having a really bad day. And if it gets much worse, they might go on a rampage, or they might run away. They might just flee into the woods. So yeah, if we're talking about uniqueness, then that's definitely what I've got. I just thought that was such a wonderfully unique mechanic. So we've got the character building so far in mind, and this sanity meter where after a while things are going to get off the rails.
I mean, it sounds like the story is already setting up to be really cool. So
I'm here for it. All right, well, bouncing back to you.
This one's a quick one for me because I'm not really specific here on this one. The infinite replayability of Rocket League, and I briefly
As
mentioned it
spoken by a
already,
level 2
but
player.
currently
Yeah.
PS5 only. Sorry. I feel like that is such a squeaky clean, near perfect experience. I mean, I'm playing it on. I think I have played it on every system and PC across the way. Now, as far as everything it's been on, and I don't get sick of it. I feel like only losing like 10 straight games, I might start to get sick of it. So anything that now, I think if we had a perfect game here, it would be infinitely replayable. And I don't replay all that many games,
No, you
but the
don't.
ones that I absolutely love, like Xenoblade, they added a gauntlet mode, they added challenge mode. Like it's got all the pieces to be infinitely replayable, and it fits just right with the themes that they already have. So whatever themes come together for this game, if it is infinitely replayable, by God, it's going to be the best. So
Well, you know
maybe
what?
that's what it is for this one is challenge mode.
Well, I would even go so far to say, so I looked up Rocket League's release date was July of 2015. That game's been out for a while, and I wouldn't say it's any worse than the day that it came out. Like, I wouldn't say that I really feel any differently about the game today than I did then, which is a good thing because I haven't had like fatigue from it or anything. Um, I think the infinite replayability of Rocket League is a testament to how accessible the game is. You don't need to even be able to read a language to learn how to play. It is soccer with cars. There are only a few buttons, but there's a really, really high skill ceiling, you know. But I think that marriage of uh, accessibility and replayability is why it is such a huge hit. It was, as far as I'm concerned, the first real esport, you know, not just in
Yeah, I would
America
agree.
but internationally, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome. I think if you can, you know, like you said earlier, if you can just get a fraction of what Rocket League has done and continues to do, then you've got a hit. Okay, then let's see the replayability. What would I do here, man? I don't have one that really matches one to one, so let's go with Valheim for me. I've been playing a bunch of Valheim lately. Of course, most of this list here is pulling from games that I've played over the past couple years. I didn't pull as much from games from, you know, my long gamer history because I wanted to make the game that I would play today. Not necessarily the game that I would have loved as a kid or as a teenager or anything. And so Valheim, I've been playing a lot lately. I will first say that I love Valheim. I love the building. Well, I love the building in it, even though I've never gotten past like the second or third boss. I don't even know how many bosses there are. I never get very far, and I never care about that. All I want to do is build a cool base, even though there's not that much functionality. I think the biggest knock against Valheim's building is that there's not really a point. There are a few things that you should build because you get tangible upgrades from, like, if you upgrade your workbench enough and your forge, then when you rest in your house, when you spend, you know, like 10 seconds in your house near a lit fire, you get a big long buff. It's like a 12-minute buff I have right now that increases my stamina. So when I run away from my base, the better my base is, the longer my stamina buff goes while I'm, you know, out in the woods and stuff. And so the biggest knock I've heard against it is that there's not a lot of reason to do the base building. And I don't really disagree. I just like it because I just like building. It's the same reason I like digging in Minecraft for, you know, I like spelunking, even though I just give the materials to someone else. I'm like, you use the cool stuff. I just like digging in the dirt, you know? I just love playing around with all the um, just all the base building you can do there. It's mostly vanity the way that I use it, but that's good enough for me. It's fun enough that it's just a relaxing way for me to kind of build this, not quite simulation, but I can almost like role play what my house would be if these mechanics existed. You know, like I'm building a cool deck overlook, or I'm building you know, very defensible walls, even though you rarely ever get attacked, and even if you do, like, you just run out into the crowd of people. Like, having really great defenses doesn't really matter that much. But uh to reel this back in, I just love how relaxing the building mechanics are in Valheim, and I think the like snapping together of bits generally does what you want it to do. Some games um don't make it very easy for you to kind of glue pieces together and all of that. I think Valheim's just my good example of a game where the building itself is enough. I don't really need an incentive to build. So that's what I would take with me. And when I tell you my other two, I think it'll all kind of come together. Um, but yeah, so far I've got visual novel, from Hades. I've got Sanity from Darkest Dungeon. I've got Valheim building. You've got the character building and ensemble of Xenoblade, the uniqueness of Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator, and the infinite replayability of Rocket League. So far we got two good games cooking, and I'm glad it's just the two of us, because if we had Saab here, we'd be out of control. This would be a 3-hour podcast, because this is a fun thought experiment. So, okay, well, I'm bouncing it back to you then.
For sure. And this one actually matches a little bit with your Valheim, and it's again just wide open. But the freedom of creativity of Tears of the Kingdom, everybody knows now just how the depth of creativity has gotten in Tears of the Kingdom. People are still popping up videos of just impossible levels of energy from the Zone 9 devices, creating, not just mechs and torture devices, but entire new ways to defeat Ganon. I didn't watch the videos, but there were like a half dozen videos in the past couple of weeks that were straight up like kill Ganon in 30 seconds sort of situations
Right.
that are just like, what?
Oh my god.
And like there's just a wild amount of things that are possible. And even though, if this concept of a game was to happen, it would surely be like a 10-year production process,
Oh right.
clearly. But I mean, definitely, if you're going to
You could
build a
say that
game that,
the freedom of creativity and the massive what Q&A, what's the what's the
oh yeah,
process in
yeah, QA testing,
the
yeah,
QA testing? Just the hugest team of
sure.
QA testers you've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're gonna have a crafting system, or like, are we gonna have a crafting and building, or is it one whole thing? Are we just gonna be building,
Well,
not building
I think it's
nothing?
all of it, because if you look at Tears of the Kingdom, the building, like you could build like platforms, but you're also just
Mhm.
building tools. It's
Yeah,
like when you see videos of somebody building a mech. Is the mech a tool or is it a building? Because it's
right.
kind of
Yeah,
both. Uh,
yeah. So I mean, just having all these things available to you at one time, uh, I mean, that right there gives the game infinite replayability. So I think we're hitting a lot of our spots, just with the creativity part.
we really do like that creativity stuff. Yeah, it's so nice to know that so many people can play a game and everyone's going to walk away with a different experience, especially when it's non-linear and you may start at the same spot, but the way, the paths that you can get there. We were talking about Remnant earlier, where it's like, oh, the biome that your character starts in might be totally different from mine, you know? Um, can't get enough of that stuff. It's also good for, the TikTok, just an endless feed of dopamine of the wild creations that people come up with. Okay, well, yeah, that one's nice and broad in the best way that game is. Uh, let's see. I'll throw this one in here. So I mentioned earlier that I like the simulation, the light simulation of some games, but sometimes when it gets too far into the weeds, I get overwhelmed. It's like I really like Don't Starve, but I'm not sure if I could play. I haven't yet played Oxygen Not Included, which seems like a pretty deep game. But it's made by Clay. I probably would like it. I've watched Odysseus play it. But uh, if I am thinking in that headspace where I don't want to go too deep on the simulation stuff, but I do like building and I do like upkeep. I generally just like the idea of upkeep in games. The one that I immediately went to was Mini Motorways. Streamed that recently. All you're doing is in that game is you're connecting. You're using roads to connect houses and factories, and you constantly have more and more factories and then more and more houses, and you've got to connect more and more and more, and you try to build your city as big as possible before it fails, which is really a game about recognizing problems before they show up, because a lot of times when your city is so busy, by the time that there's a problem happening, it's too late. Even if you fix it, all the congestion that comes from all the clogged up streets, it'll just stop everything dead in its tracks, and it won't even have a chance to get righted, to get fixed before it's game over. So I like the minor upkeep of mini motorways, like a city builder essentially, because now that I've become more aware of what City Skylines is, I am gonna have to play that. But that is like more simulation, where mini motorways and mini metro, which I just bought, excited about that. They're a lot lighter. They're much more slimmed down, like a minimal is the right word. So I don't know if minimal is exactly what I'm looking for, but that sort of building upkeep kind of thing is. So if I combine that with the Valheim building from my list and the infinite creativity of your list, you could do a lot with that. I imagine that this game that I've got is some sort of roguelike where you've got like city builder with different conditions in mini motorways. You play in different cities from around the world. So some of them have rivers running right through the middle of the city, or some of them have a mountain right next to the city. And so that provides different challenges for you to work around. But yeah, I think this will all can come together when I got my fifth one. But if anybody, I'll
yeah,
be
I'm feeling
surprised
it.
if anybody can guess my the game that'll be my fifth one. But yeah, I'm gonna throw the ball back to you.
Yeah, my final point, which it's the one that didn't quite fit with everything else, but at the same time, I'm
There's
like,
still time.
I can't miss it. So, my final point is the effortlessly smooth, creamy combat of a near automata. I mean, I've played a lot of action games, but throughout the years, I feel like no combat has been quite as satisfying as near automata. Um, it feels good even when you're screwing up. You know what I mean? Like you just watch the animations and you're tapping these buttons and it doesn't feel like you're doing too much. It doesn't feel like it's repetitive like I don't know, a Spider-Man or something. Like you're not just button mashing, it is very strategic the whole way through, but at the same time your brain's not freaking out about it. It's muscle memory plus a little bit of strategy and the controls just work. I've played it on the Switch. I've played it on Xbox, um, and it just feels so good every time you play. That's
Wait, how
another
many times have
point
you?
towards the replayability.
How, how many have you started from scratch, from total scratch? Have you started that game over more than once?
Twice,
Which
but
means you've played the game like 15 times, because
no,
oh,
but on
that's
Switch I didn't. On Switch I just played like an hour or two.
oh, that's funny. Okay.
But yeah, I mean the first time I played it because I beat the 5 required storylines in order to do it.
You know,
Technically, I replayed the game many times. Um, but yeah, it was satisfying the whole way through. And if for example we've got all this creativity, we've got this freedom, we've got the building and all that in this game. I mean, I feel like even if it is more of a sim survival game, I mean, maybe there's room for some boss fights, and maybe the controls are just really good. And I don't know, maybe there's points in the game that we just stop and fight. Maybe that's where it all starts coming together here
well,
on your
yeah,
next point.
funny you would say that. It is surprising now that we're really talking this out. I think we really can make this game work, even with all of our 10 bits of input. Okay, so my final point on here was inspired by recently I was playing Darkest Dungeon, and Lizzie had my partner had loaded up the Oregon Trail on her computer for the first time, the like remake of it that came out sometime in the past few years. I couldn't tell you. And so she was playing that, and I was telling her, I was all excited about Darkest Dungeon, and I was telling her about it, and she goes, I was playing Oregon Trail, and I realized that Darkest Dungeon is basically just the Oregon Trail. You've got little
Yeah.
stops, you stop along the way, but you're in a carriage going along a path, and then you encounter combat along the way and stuff. And I'm like, damn, that's pretty good. So the last thing on my list here is the Oregon Trail style of journey, of starting somewhere and having some faraway destination, but you probably won't reach on any of your early playthroughs. And so when I came up with that, because the idea of in the Oregon Trail, you start where at the same place every time. Oh, so I would say that in all of these elements, where the Oregon Trail was probably like the first ever roguelike, maybe. I mean, you restart and it's procedurally generated, so I don't know. I think I'm just on a quest to say that every game is a roguelike.
Yeah, you really
I really
are.
am. But I would imagine this as a roguelite, where every time that you fail, you take something, you grow in some way, and your future runs will be more successful. So when I thought of the Oregon Trail, I now combine all of the character building, the sanity, the building and upkeep, where my game would essentially be like the Oregon Trail. Well, but it would be a fictional Oregon Trail that has, that isn't like, in the United States. It would be like the way that Don't Starve has a bunch of science and magic in it, and you never know what's going on until you try it out. In this fictional world, you would go on a journey, but the journey wouldn't just be to get to the destination. The journey would be to set up cities along the way, so that your future runs could pass through those cities and restock or refill your party or whatever and continue on. In between each of those cities, you'd have combat, which would work with you'd have the replayability of the roguelite, but you have the creamy smooth combat of Nier Automata. Um, and then the characters that you take with you, they would all talk to each other like Hades or even like Pyre, uh, and get to know each other. But you'd also meet people along the way, which when your character dies, they're dead, but the people you meet along the way will still persist, right? So maybe the point is that you build a town with minor upkeep. You try to install, maybe you have a really good character and you're like, hey, instead of continuing on with me on our journey, you should actually stay here. You'd be a great leader in this town. Like the town will do better, and maybe you've got special attributes that say this town's going to be really great for trading, or especially organs in space. And maybe in another city it says, hey, this is a really good place to restock guns and ammo, kind of thing. So the idea wouldn't just be about getting to the next city. Like in most roguelites, it's like getting to the end of the region you're in, and usually there are 3 regions, and then you fight the final boss or something. In this, it would really focus on, I've arrived at this city, and every time I arrive at this city, I need to make it better than the last time I visited here on a previous character. So uh, I just think as soon as I thought of the Oregon Trail, I was like, this could be a real game here.
Man, we're gonna have like 25 biomes and
Oh yeah.
I don't know, 40 characters probably minimum. I
Oh
don't.
man, well, taking submissions from the community on what those biomes should be. We don't have any hard rules. They can be sci-fi or fantasy or IRL.
I definitely think that we need to actually develop some of these ideas a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah, because it's going places. I like it.
It's fun.
And the one thing that I hesitated on putting on there because I honestly thought that you were going to, uh, but I feel like a bonus to this Frankenstein game. Can we agree upon perhaps like a Danny Baranowski soundtrack?
Okay,
Like what kind of composer are we
we
dealing with
jamming.
here?
Well, in the breaks between the show today, I was playing a bunch of Darren Korb, and I could tell, did not recognize it. I was playing the Hades soundtrack and the Bastion soundtrack, and
Mhm.
other stuff. One of them was from Transistor as well. But man, I mean, Darren Korb, if we can get Supergiant to make this game, then he'll immediately be on board. He's their in-house composer.
That is
Uh,
a good move too.
the Bastion soundtrack, I don't think I can find this written anywhere, but I think I recall Darren Korb describing the genre of music for that game as being frontier trip hop was the thing. So you had mentioned in chat earlier that it's twangy. It's got a
Mhm.
bunch of stuff going on, but it's got this driving beat where you kind of want to bob your head
Yeah.
and stuff. So I think right now He's top of my list. Though I mean I can't argue with Danny. How do you say his last name?
Baranowski.
Baranowski. Yeah, who made Crypt of the Necrodancer and Cadence of Hyrule, which I still think Cadence of Hyrule has probably the best menu music of any game. Absolute banger. So I wouldn't be mad with either of those. Taking more submissions for that too. Who's our soundtrack for this? Oh, but what a fun topic. I would be down to revisit this another time. If we had more of us, I'd probably slim it down to like each of us throws like 2 or 3 into the hat. But this is a lot of fun. I know we've got some friends. I haven't listened to their podcast in a while, but our friend Cam Koenig hosts a podcast. It's been so long since I listened, but they essentially do this on a lot of their shows, where they have a guest on and build a game, for better or for worse, because sometimes the games are like intentionally bad, but it is good entertainment. But it's such a fun thought experiment to pick apart the games you like, see why you like them, and then see where those would fit with other pieces. Yeah, a lot of fun. Definitely want to do this one again. All we're missing is a name. It's got to be something stupid though, and we don't have to come up with it right now because I'm not going to be able to. But we'll stamp a name on this at some point.
Obviously, has to have at least 5 words in the title.
At least it's got to add up to some weird acronym. We're really going to have to hire out somebody to figure out this one.
No, we'll find Xavier Nelson. He can do it.
Yeah,
easy.
You know what?
He wouldn't even ask for money for it. You know.
But it's got to have child gambling in it.
Yes.
And we'd be banned from the Nintendo Switch. They're the deep cuts for you. Okay, well, that's our party topic. I said that I would read off what we have in chat. I think the only one I saw for sure was from Shanny Pack. He says, right up at the top, he said, I want a roguelite Fallout 4 restaurant management game. That sounds pretty cool. There are a lot of things from Fallout 4 with like the settlement simulation stuff that I think is a cool idea that just didn't execute in a way that I wanted. But it was the first time I had seen some of those settlement simulation things in a game. I mean, shoot, is our game set in the fall? Or you know what? This is what it is. Our game can take place in any of these universes. It'll happen in Fallout. It'll happen in Elder Scrolls. It'll happen in the Hades world somehow. We're gonna work with the chef in the kitchen there, and set up an outpost in Asphodel and all those places. Shoot, this is fun, but we gotta stop this because
it's the next fortnight, clearly. So
oh my god,
we just move the entirety of the game to that next world. That's it.
And take that to the bank. We'll get signed off. I'll get the paperwork rolling right after the show. Wonderful. Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining us for this. Yeah, I hope to revisit this again in the future, maybe with Saab, maybe with a guest or two. And I'll report back with some good ideas. If I hear more, if our community talks about this off stream, I'm going to try to record some of the input so that I can read to you guys here on the show, because we do have a lot of creative people in our community. Speaking of all of those people, you can find our Discord, our most active place on our socials, at discord.gg/partyinviteshow. We mentioned earlier that we're playing Exoprimal and Smallland this weekend. We play other games like 7 Days to Die and other survival games, but also co-op games. Shani mentioned a restaurant sim. We've played Plate Up together. That's a fun co-op. Not quite like Overcooked, but not that different from it. And a lot of other games. We love playing games here in this community. So yeah, check us out on all those, and yada yada yada. Our website, partyinvite.games. You guys know the drill. You've heard me talk about it before. So without any further ado, let's move on to our game stream tonight. Vilos, remind us what that's called.
It's Dordogne.
Perfect. We're gonna take a little break before we get that loaded up, but for everybody listening to the audio version, we'll see you again next week on Thursdays. Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific is when we record. We'd love to see you in chat here. Otherwise, everybody, we'll be back in a few minutes. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
Later.
Boom.